your flesh and blood.
Welcome to Tell Me Your Story. New paradigms for a new world where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here 9 times a week. Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, as well as YouTube, where you can watch these conversations. I hope that you will take time to subscribe and click notifications so that when a new conversation is posted, you'll be notified and you'll be able to tune in, listen in, and learn, and be entertained and inspired. A reminder that Choices, which is my book, 5 Steps for Life, it's available on Amazon.com in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle with Audible, soon to be released. We also ask that if you can support the work that we are doing financially, we do have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours. And when they ask for an email address to whom you're sending, please go to richard@richarddugan.com. That's the email address. If you go to richarddugan.com, there is also a link directly to PayPal so that you can send us whatever support you can. And we thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help. We also ask that you take time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still, small voice. And with that, we now take you to our very special interview and guest here on Tell Me Your Story.
I'm Richard Dugan. Thank you very much for joining us as we begin another edition of Tell Me Your Story. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Messenger. Well, who is the Messenger? Well, on today's program, it's going to be Linda Emmanuel. She's the author of There is Hope for the Future. And if you're not doing well, you're ill, there is hope for you too. Stay tuned. Understanding is, again, part of this program, and as always, we ask you to at least take a listen to and decide for yourself whether you pick up a copy of the book, you download the interview again and again for friends and family to listen to get firsthand from Linda Emmanuel's mouth the words that she's put into the book, The Messenger. We ask you to encourage you to do that. This whole program is about new paradigms for a new world, your world, making it a better place for you. And if getting whole and well is part of your plan, as it is for all of us, then I think this program is for you. And I want to welcome Linda Emmanuel to our program. Thank you very much for joining us. It's nice to have someone in studio. Most of my interviews are on the phone, and I enjoy those too. But it's always nice to be face-to-face with somebody.
Thank you, Richard. I am so grateful to be here, that you're having me on your program. I hope that your listeners, for the next many minutes, will be enlightened, will feel so much better what's going on in their lives, and that I can give them hope that they too can get well like I did.
Well, that's what we want to talk about, and obviously the first thing that we might want to start with is going back a little bit further than when did all of this begin as far as the story of the Messenger, but because you are dealing in what most people would consider alternative medicine, or alternative health and wellness, if you will, through the story that you tell. Were you always involved in medicine in that regard? I mean, or was it, I'm going to find the right pill or the right medication or the right doctor, et cetera, and suddenly you had one of those what they call epiphanies or aha moments that said, I can't do it that way anymore because the other way isn't working?
No, Richard, it didn't work like that at all. I was a la-la person working a full-time job, totally oblivious what was going on in the world. I had no idea how many people were sick or getting sick. I was totally clueless. And in 2000, I did an awakening, and that means spiritually. Mm-hmm. And I had gone to a psychic, and she said, you're going to have a ministry. Me, Linda? Low self-esteem, Linda? Me, a ministry? Mm-hmm. Me? Then she said, if you knew what's going to happen to you, you couldn't handle it now. Well, I had no idea what she meant. And then for 6 months, I built up my self-esteem. Now, I had very low self-esteem, and it took a lot of work to build that up, but that's not the story. And then in 2001, and this was where the whole journey began, I had a foot problem where most people call it plantar fasciitis. And I heard about a psychic up in New York that's like an Edgar Cayce, and I was very skeptical, and he gave phone consultations, and he would tell you what was your problem. So I called him, and I was determined not to say or give him any clues. Mm-hmm. The first word out of his mouth, and by the way, his name is Dave, he says to me, "You have a foot problem." And I said, "Yes, I do." And he said, "It's not your foot, it's your spleen." Well, he did send me vitamins and herbs, and it went away. But at the end of that conversation, he started channeling, and he said to me this. In 2003, now I got to stop here. This was on February 1st, 2001. Mm-hmm. He said in 2003, death will walk the earth, and you will tell people where to go to be safe. Well, he scared the padookies out of me. I didn't know what he meant. And he said, "Do you know what they mean?" And I said, "No." Well, within a few months, I met a man, a boyfriend, but in October, he totally broke my heart. I had an emotional trauma. And within 1 month, I was fully disabled. I was flat on my back, sick. I couldn't work. I had to go out on disability, and they didn't know what was really wrong with me. Mm-hmm. But in desperation, I called the psychic guy up again, and I said, "What is wrong with me?" And he said, "You had an emotional trauma recently, didn't you?" And I said, "Yes, I did." And he said, "That caused an organism to get into your body and become active." So for like a year, I was flat on my back, nearly dead. I experienced extreme depression, where if I wouldn't have been spiritual, I would have probably killed myself. And I was always so cold, and I couldn't sleep even though I'd be crying. I could not sleep. I'd have black circles under my eyes. And my family was getting ready to bury me, but I wouldn't give up. And then in 2003, February 28th, I found on the internet what is causing all these diseases. And I was diagnosed at the time with lupus and bipolar depression and rheumatoid arthritis. Mm-hmm. And when I found out about this organism, and by the way, the name of the organism is mycoplasma. Can I spell it?
Sure.
Would you like me to spell it for your listeners? MYCOPLASMA. Mycoplasma.
Okay, now what is it's a microorganism?
Yes, it is.
Can you give us any more of a description of that?
Sure. Bacteria go through a state of change. It's called pheomorphism. They become cell wall deficient. They can shed their cell wall. They can take on different shapes, rods, and they can even become cell wall deficient organisms, mm-hmm. which are a DNA strand of the bacteria. Mm-hmm. And when they become cell wall deficient, and by the way, this has been proven by scientists. This is not my theory. Mm-hmm. Dr. Royal Rife proved it. Many others have proved it.
Raymond Rife with the Rife frequency generator. I'm very familiar with it.
Very good. He proved it. Well, the organism is just a double cell membrane of a bacteria, mm-hmm. of a DNA strand. So it needs a host cell. Do you want me to explain how the depression works, or you want me to keep going with my story?
Well, I would say let's let our listeners, they can certainly get a lot of the information that we're talking about from the book as well.
Okay.
And we can kind of move forward with the story, but at the same time, I'd also like to talk a little bit about, you talked about being a spiritual person. What is that for you? What does it mean to be a spiritual person?
Very good question. I believe we are all one. I do believe in reincarnation. I accept your religion. If you want to be Catholic, that's fine with me. Mm-hmm. I don't want to disrupt your religious your religious beliefs. Mm-hmm. I believe that we all have a purpose down here. We all have a gift to share. And my purpose was to get sick, get well, and tell people that there is hope, that there is a treatment to be cured for bipolar depression, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, this treatment that I got is not something that you just eat grass or herbs or vitamins. This is actually a medical alternative treatment that is very inexpensive, and it's given by IV.
Okay.
And it's called, if you go on my website, and we can give that out later if it's okay.
Sure.
It's called mild silver protein. And what this organism is, the mycoplasma, think of it as a double cell membrane, no cell wall. It's a DNA strand. When you get an IV of mild silver protein, and it is silver, the silver, I'm going to stop here. Silver, the ancient people ate off of silver and they drank out of silver, right? That killed bacteria or organisms. So the silver in the blood attaches itself to the mycoplasma, changes its metabolic structure, kills it dead. I had 2 half-strength treatments. I went to my doctor the next week. The lupus came back negative. All the medical records are in my book. I was well.
Yeah. Well, I want to continue talking a little bit about this as well. We are talking with the author of The Messenger. Her name is Linda Emmanuel. And what is the website where people can get further information and even order the book, which is primarily available through Amazon.com, which is, I believe, your publisher. Isn't that correct?
That's true. That's a miracle in itself. God led me to that.
What's the website address for you?
www.linda, Linda, Emmanuel, EMMANUEL.com.
Okay, we're going to take a break here, and we're going to be coming back with Linda Emmanuel. We want you to stay right where you are. You're listening to Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, and I thank you very much for joining us. And we are back here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan. Thank you so much for joining us as we continue talking with Linda Emmanuel. She's the author of The Messenger, and there is hope for the future. There's hope for there is hope for the present. Not much hope for my being able to talk here. Got my tongue in front of my eye teeth, as they say. There is no hope for the past. It is gone. We don't need to worry about the past. And some people would even say about the future. You know, we don't worry about the future. We want to be right here now. So tell me a little bit about you're also involved in there is. I'm not sure that I want to put the notation of craze, but there is a movement across the country, maybe even around the world, dealing with the issue or the concept, and it's more than that, of the power of intent.
That's what I call it.
The law of attraction is another name, and then there are dozens of other names, and I've been studying it for years, since I was 17 years old, and began my search.
Wow.
But you came about this only about 7 or 8 years ago.
That's right.
What led you to this law, the power of intent, and how has it changed your life?
Well, it's great. I learned it in Sedona, Arizona. And in my book, and it's okay if you don't buy my book, at least go to my website and see this organism and the articles and everything. But in my book, I tell the words to use to manifest. I didn't read The Secret, not that I didn't want to. I didn't want to bias my thoughts and the way I do it.
Sure.
I did see the movie. I don't agree with the movie only because of this. What I remember about the movie is, think of money being in your mailbox, and all you have to do is go out to your mailbox and get it. There's no such thing as a free lunch. How manifestation works for me is this. I put the request out to the universe, an opportunity will come to me. That opportunity is usually in the form of a person who has an idea that, you know, the solution I'm looking for or is the solution. Now, if I take that opportunity, that's my choice. And by the way, I'll tell you a little funny thing. An opportunity is like an outhouse. Just when you're looking for one, they seem few and far between. That's in my book.
Well, and in many cases, that is true.
And I would love to share with your listeners how to manifest, the words to use. It's not witchcraft. This is what I do. Now all I have to do is think it and it comes to me.
Right.
This is what you do. Let's give an example. Let's say you want a new job. So you say, these are the words you start off the request. You say, how can I, and then whatever you want. Like if you wanted a new job, you're going to have to be a little specific, because if you're not specific, you may be riding shotgun on a garbage truck. You know? So you say, you would say, how can I find a job where I'm happy and make more money? And then you always end it with thank you. Then the next step is you got to believe it's a done deal.
Okay.
You then may have to put out some feelers. You know, you might have to work at it, but you don't want to overdo it. You can't push it. And then you have to come to it comes to a time where you have to release it and let the universe bring it to you. Because many, many times I tried to push it, and I was actually, push it towards me, and I was actually pushing it away.
It's the concept, the difference between the idea of controlling the process and being a part of the process.
That's right.
And you want to be a part of that process.
That's right.
And that's where the letting go. And it's hard because we want, even my wife and I, we would both acknowledge that we're both, at least we used to be anyway, control freaks. That, got to be in control and with this radio program, for example, I don't control it. I have no idea where this thing's going. I'm just along for the ride. And it's been a great ride. So you're talking about manifesting and, say, a job. And so you put it out there. How can I?
Blank.
Right. And you fill in the blank with whatever it is that you want.
Be
and
a little
bit
specific, though.
And then you believe that it's going to happen.
Done deal.
And then you just let it alone. You just,
That's right.
Okay. And you sort of float it like a balloon and just let it be and then go about your business. And you will sort of, be led in the direction that you need to be going?
Somebody will cross
your path. But you have to be moving. But you've got to be moving.
You can't be in a closet.
Right.
Although I've manifested in closets just about. It's come to me right smack in front of my face, and I didn't even have to leave my house. It's come to me. It's like, huh?
So let me ask you in regards to your book. Is your book one of those things that you manifested? Or was it just almost if I can put it this way, a natural outgrowth of what you went through?
Each chapter in there is a manifestation, and people aren't going to believe this book happens because there's a naked angel in this book. There's, oh my gosh, there's just surprise. And I'm the one that's surprised. I never, when I put out a manifestation or, a request, lots of times I was clueless until it hit me in the face, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what I asked for. And I didn't even realize it. Like, for instance, can I continue my story a little bit? Because we kind of hung off about the guy saying death will walk the earth. Well, when I found out, this is very important. When I found out about the organism by the way, not only does this organism called Mycoplasma fermentans cause lupus, bipolar depression, and rheumatoid arthritis, it also causes Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis. Those are the big ones.
Okay.
Endometriosis, certain diabetes. Okay, when I found out about this organism, I go, oh my gosh, the prophecy about death will walk the earth and you'll tell people where to go to be safe. And then I knew why I got sick. Then in November of 2004, I was ready to get healed. And I said, okay, God, how can I go out and help people if I'm not cured? Find me the cure. Thank you. And I had gone to a mycoplasma conference in Canada, and up there I had met a woman doctor who wrote a book called The Arthritis Connection, and she had a lot of resources in her book. So I took that book, I found it in the house, I opened it up to this website, found a list of alternative doctors. Now, I had been told by a researcher of mycoplasma to find a tetracycline IV that inhibits it but doesn't kill it. And we started calling around the country, and I was near the end of the list, and I live in St. Louis, Missouri, and there was one doctor left on the list that we could drive to in one day, and it was in Birmingham, Alabama. Now, it's funny, my boyfriend in the book, Dale, he says, let me talk to him. He had a medical degree. You don't know what to say. So he gets on the phone with this doctor. He's an MD alternative doctor, not just a chiropractor or something like that. And the doctor's kind of cocky on the phone, and he says, and this is not in the book, I didn't want to put this in the book. He gets kind of a little cocky. He goes, I've cured AIDS, I've cured chronic fatigue, and I've cured diabetes. Well, I knew he could cure me then because same organism. And AIDS is actually not, we won't get into AIDS, but AIDS is actually a mycoplasma structure, but a little bit more lethal. It has the same structure as the mycoplasma. So my boyfriend didn't believe it. He goes, nobody's ever cured a lupus. Well, I knew different. So he took me down to Alabama. That weekend, I got 2 half-strength treatments of mild silver protein IV. Now, I was in a wheelchair, walker. I couldn't walk. I had to hold on to something. I couldn't even pick my foot up to step up to a curb. And I was sick. You don't get disabled unless you're near dead.
Mm-hmm.
And the day after the treatment, the first treatment, I could put my leg up on the bed. I could get up off the bed, and I go, Dale, look, I can put my leg up on the bed. And then I had one more treatment 2 days later, and then I went back to my doctor, my regular RA doctor, rheumatoid arthritis doctor, and my blood test came back negative for lupus. It killed the mycoplasma in the blood. And he still didn't believe me. But I have all my medical records in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And people who have read my book, that is the most convincing part of the book, is the medical records. Even December 2007 were the last medical records, and my doctor wrote in there, good results, Merry Christmas. I'm fine. I'm fine. And we're talking somebody that was near dead, and lupus was really bad, wheelchair, walker. I had to learn how to walk again. I couldn't even button my own pants. I couldn't open a doorknob. I had neuropathy in my feet. My feet were so swollen, so big, I couldn't wear shoes for 6 months. My hands look like lobster claws. Do they look like lobster claws now, Richard?
No, they don't. No, they don't. You're listening to Tell Me Your Story. My guest is Linda Emmanuel. She's the author of The Messenger. There is hope for the future, for you, for me, for all of us. And that website, again, is basically www.lindaemmanuel.com. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And again, that's LINDAEMMAUEL. Emmanuel. And again, the book is entitled, The Messenger, and we want you to stay tuned. We'll be coming back in just a moment. Welcome back to Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, and I thank you very much for joining us as we talk with Linda Emmanuel, and she's the author of The Messenger. There is hope for the future, and we are excited to have you in studio because, again, most of our guests are on the phone, and we don't get to experience them face-to-face, and we would really like to do so, and ask questions, and open it up if people were able to call in. And sadly, this particular program is pre-recorded. We hope that you will go to the website and pull down the interview and enjoy it as well, and maybe share it with friends and family and so forth. The book is available through Amazon.com, and you can also go to lindaemmanuel.com. And again, that email address or the web address is www.lindaemmanuel. M-U-E-L. I knew I was forgetting a letter there somewhere. And it's, again, a .com, and you can get a copy of the book, The Messenger. Now, you're in the midst of telling us the story that is contained in the book.
That's right.
One of the things that I find so interesting in regards to the story that's being told is the captions in each of the the titles of each of the chapters. There's no such thing as a free lunch, which you mentioned early on in the program. My Quantum Leap, and I'm just basically flipping through here. Good Vibrations. You also mentioned, too, Once is Not Enough. You also mentioned, too, about a gentleman, Dr. Royal Raymond Rife, who developed a machine back in the 30s that would have helped to destroy many of these viruses and bacteria, probably including the one that you're
right.
talking about, the mycoplasma.
That's right.
And knowing the story as I do of Dr. Rife, the AMA basically put the kibosh on it.
That's true.
Back in the 30s, in the late 20s.
Gentle person, a hero.
Yeah.
He was before. He was before. Yeah. Oh, he was just.
But he was actually. My wife and I like to refer to folks such as ourselves as fringe dwellers. They're living outside of the normal social realms, if you will. He's doing things in regards to helping people outside of the box. I mean, who would have thought back in the 30s, 20s, or even the teens when he first started doing his research about using frequencies to destroy these types of things?
Right.
Is that sort of along the lines of what this? And you'll have to say it again. What it is? This silver.
Mild silver protein is actually a treatment, and let me tell your listeners this. It is not expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I only had to pay $150 for my treatment, and my doctor wasn't giving me charity.
Mm-hmm.
He's in it to make, it's a business.
Right.
And if you run across somebody that's going to take advantage of you, find somebody else. I don't think they're in tune with the universe.
Right. Now, when you say silver, what is this actually? Silver, gold, silver, platinum, etc., or is this like mercury?
I have the article the 3 doctors wrote on my website. It's a PDF.
Okay.
I'm not a doctor, so I just know that it works. It kills the organism. They've had research that shows it works.
Mm-hmm.
He's worked successfully with AIDS.
Mm-hmm.
Now the problem is to find a doctor, an alternative doctor that will get it. That's my main goal right now, is in St. Louis. I've got several doctors interested in giving this treatment because I have so many people who are so sick, and they don't have the money. When you become disabled, you have no money.
Yeah.
I'd like to add something else to your listeners, that bipolar depression is not a mental illness. If you know somebody that has bipolar depression, please, please don't label them mentally ill. Did I say how the organism works? I don't think I did.
You gave a brief description. I don't really want to get into a lot of the technical aspects of it. They can read about that in the book or from the website, and that's really where we'd like to have them go to your website, and they will be able to get there through richarddugan.com, because we'll have a link to your website there, as well as access to this interview that they can download and listen to again.
Go ahead. Part of the battle is knowing what is attacking you. That's half the battle. And now there is a treatment that has been successful. Other people have been treated with this too successfully, not just me. There's research going on in Alabama right now, but of course it's not a patented treatment.
Right.
And it's very inexpensive. Now, I don't know if the price of silver has gone up.
Right.
But it should not be that expensive for people.
Let's talk about the aspects of receiving your healing through this method and then being able to move forward from there. Now that you're well, now that you're whole, if you will. Okay.
He's setting me up.
Where are you going from here? What are the new dreams for Linda Emmanuel?
Well, you probably didn't get a chance to finish the book, which I kind of have a feeling you didn't.
Well, whether I did or didn't,
it's okay, because right after I got well, I was riding the bike 25 miles. Now, this is a person who was in a wheelchair, bedridden for a whole year, couldn't walk. I was riding the bike 25 miles, and then in August of 2005, I got real scared. Because here's this one person, some woman who has no money, nothing, the backer, going against the pharmaceuticals, the big power guys, and they, just like Royal Rife, they snuffed me out. And I got really frightened. And at the time, my boyfriend was offering me a cabana in Florida. Anything. I could have gone away and hidden under a rock. And then one of my boyfriend's relatives, his daughter, killed herself. She committed suicide. She was bipolar depression. And that made me think. I said, Linda, what is this one life? Now that I'm awake, so many people are suffering like I did and like she did. She killed herself. And I said to God, I'm going to do it. I'm not a quitter. I'm going to go forward. And that's funny because in the book I say, every time I make this commitment to God, some life-threatening event soon occurs, because the next month I decide to write the book. I wrote 30 chapters in 30 days. And I went to Providence, Rhode Island, and my grandkids say to me, and I should have known better, they said, Grandma, would you buy us some beef jerky? And I said, sure. I loved that stuff when I was a kid. Well, I had 4 pieces of it. I get poisoned with nitrites. I end up with cancer. And then I had to get myself cured of these viruses in my liver and pancreas. I know it sounds crazy. And I'm like, wait, that chapter is called Once is Not Enough. And this time it was scary because cancer kills. Yeah. And so that's when I wrote a chapter called It's No Accident, Why Some People Do Not Get Sick. And that's on my website if you want to read that chapter. It's why people are getting sick today. And it's too long to go into the alkaline acidity.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found the Dr. Royal Rife machine. And then the thing that's the secret to longevity, the magic bullet, is these machines called the ion cleanse machines.
Mm-hmm.
These alkalize the body, and that is the secret to staying healthy, because so many people have unbalanced tissues. That's why, and organisms live in that.
Mm-hmm.
So I got myself well of that, and I hope third time's not a charm. I don't think there's anything left for me to tackle. And now I'm just trying to get the message out, trying to find doctors to give this treatment, and trying to inspire people that they too can get well like I did.
Now, you're traveling through Central California here. Are you traveling across the country? Are you on a tour? Or you just happen to be in this area and fortunately were able to drop in and visit with us?
It's the last part. I was just fortunate enough to be here I don't think there's no accidents. I don't think it was a coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just so grateful that I can be sharing this message with your listeners, because this is so important that they feel that they can get well.
Okay.
There is nothing worse than being sick.
I know. We have been through a few bouts of whatever the thing is that came through this area in late 2007, and it's no fun having to take time off of work, and you can't do anything. And we have this little chicken farm, and we've got dogs and cats to take care of, and it doesn't matter whether you're sick or not. If in essence, if you're on a farm, you got to farm it and drag yourself across the compound. If you've just joined us, my guest is the author of The Messenger. There is Hope for the Future, Linda Emmanuel. And again, you can get a copy of this book through Amazon.com. You can also go to LindaEmmanuel.com, LindaEmmanuel.com. And we'll be coming back in just a moment. Welcome back to the program. I'm Richard Dugan, and I thank you very much for staying with us. We're talking with the author of The Messenger. There is hope for the future. Quite honestly, I think, Linda, there is hope for now, because people don't have to wait for the future. They can check into these various different modalities that we have available to us for healing our bodies, to bringing us back to wholeness, so that we can go about the business, if I can put it in that context, of going out and fulfilling our dreams. I mean, it's like you have two things going on here. Mm-hmm. You have the messenger that is geared towards guiding people in a direction to become whole again, to be able to function normally in their own lives. And then you have the power of intent that you talk about.
The words.
The words that allow people to then go out and achieve the dreams. And that's what this program is about, to give people the choices and the knowledge of those choices to go out and fulfill their dreams. That's what new paradigms are all about for creating in that new world. I'd like to get into some of the words. We'll kind of weave back and forth into your story, but I want to go back to some of the words for intent.
Oh, great.
Now, is there something that you want to take us through, a little exercise?
I'd like to tell you some of the guidelines. I did not read The Secret.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to become
you wanted to stay focused.
Yes.
You wanted to stay focused on the practice, if you will, that you found, the modality that worked for you, and that's understandable.
I believe works.
Mm-hmm, what you believe works.
You have to be in tune with the universe.
Okay.
Clean hands. You can't manifest for somebody else. You can only manifest for yourself.
Okay.
I can't take your job away from you.
Mm-hmm.
I can't take your whatever away from you. It won't work. It'll backfire. The big thing is to also, when you ask yourself these questions when you manifest, will it bring me joy? Will it bring me happiness? Will it give me the freedom to be who I want to be? Mm-hmm. And then it's in tune with the universe.
Okay.
We all have a gift, and you probably say that many, many times to people. We all have a passion. It's not about money. When I woke up spiritually, I could care less about diamonds and cars. Yeah, I need money. Mm-hmm. But you look at all of us as one, and you just look at people with love. And everybody is so unique and precious. We all have an agenda, and it's so wonderful to help each other. I won't do something for somebody. I'll tell somebody how to do something because I'm helping them, and that's makes me feel really good.
But you're offering that as a suggestion to them.
Yes, but they have to do it themselves.
That's right.
And I think it's funny. People say to me, well, why don't you manifest $1 million? Well, there's a little catch there. What if I ask for $1 million and I'm crossing the street and get run over by a truck and I become excuse me if you're quadriplegic, but what if I end up paralyzed in a wheelchair with $1 million lawsuit that I won?
Mm-hmm.
What could I do then?
Yeah.
So it's not about money. It's about being happy. And when you are doing your passion, you will make money. Yeah. And you will have so much abundance of love and joy and feel so good about yourself. And it's all about helping each other, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. That's what we're here to do. I've used the phrase with people before that if God or the universal power, what have you, had intended for all of us to live individual, solitary lives, there are certainly enough planets in the universe for each one of us to occupy one. The reality is we're all here. And that tells me that we're supposed to work together, help one another. The analogy of the ladder, there's someone above me and someone below me, and I'm helping the person below me to climb, and the person above me is helping me to climb. And that's just the way it is. And once we realize that, then we can all move up that ladder so much faster and so much more easily and happier. And that's really what it's all about. So, are those all the ground rules thus far?
Yes, they are. You just can't manifest for somebody else. Mm-hmm. You can't take something away from somebody.
Okay.
You really should have clean hands.
Clean hands, what do you mean?
Well, not go around cheating people.
Okay, I understand. Okay.
Clean hands, because you should be, when you're to the point where you're going to be doing the power of intent, you probably have no karma left unless you create it, because we can create karma. Mm-hmm. I've created karma so fast. It's come smack dab in front of my face.
We call that instant karma from carnation.
I still have karma. I mean, karma, instant karma. When I say something, think something, it comes back in my face. Mm-hmm. But usually when you're ready to do the power of intent, you're pretty well open to the universe, and it just, the more you believe that things will happen, they will. You have to, but it has to come from the heart and the head. It just doesn't happen. You have to really feel it.
Right.
And the more I use the collective consciousness to tap into too in my book. Well, excuse me, I said book again.
That's fine.
There is I don't know if you know what the collective, you probably do. The collective,
so.
I've tapped into that many times. Mm-hmm. I have a little story that around the early 1900s, there were two people working simultaneously on an invention, and they didn't know about each other. And the person who got the patent first beat out the second party by 15 or I think 45 minutes.
Yeah. And
nobody ever remembers who finishes second in a horse race.
That's true.
But the first one who finished the patent was Alexander Graham Bell.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I believe those two people were tapping into the collective consciousness at the same time. Mm-hmm. But this is very important about the manifestation.
Right.
Do you have an idea? Well, when you probably, the person that's listening to this, if they had a good idea and they're sitting back on it, somebody else heard that too. They heard the same broadcast. Are you going to be the one that follows through on it? Or are you going to be second in the horse race?
Yeah.
And you're going to go back you're going to be hearing about this invention someday and go, doggone it. Mm-hmm. I thought of that a couple years ago, but I didn't follow through.
It's been said that, just as a point of reference, that there are roughly $10 million ideas that a person has every single day of their lives. I believe that is what the statistic is anyway. But how many of those ideas do they move forward on? And odds are maybe one in a lifetime, if that. And yet we're constantly having those, aha, boy, I should do something with that. And they don't move forward with it because in a lot of cases they don't know how. So what we want to do now that we have sort of the ground rules laid out, have you take us through, is there a name for this particular exercise as far as dealing with the words, or are there just a list of words that you have for people to use?
How can I? And then it will happen. They have to believe it's a done deal. Mm-hmm. Somebody will cross their path. It may be in the grocery store. It may be in the gas station. You may be overhearing some conversation between two other people. Somebody may come up to you and say, "Oh, I thought you'd be interested in this." Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Thank you. You never know who's going to give it to you.
Right.
It may be your mother. It may be your best friend. It may be somebody that doesn't even know you. Always have your ears and eyes open, but don't push the energy, but always be prepared to accept something, because your angels are at work. And the more you believe in your spirit guides and angels, and I assume that you believe in those, mm-hmm. the more you believe, the more they will interact in your life. And you may get a feeling to do something, and you do it, and you go, I got a great story, I'll tell you. It's just happened about a week ago. I'm trying to find doctors in the St. Louis area. Now I've got the book done, I got my website done, mostly done. I'm trying to find doctors. And I was coming home from this holistic fair I was in. And I had the feeling to go to my favorite Chinese restaurant. I go, I don't want to go there. I don't want to gain any more weight. I'm tired I don't want to go there, And I go, okay, I'm going to go there and get some Chinese food and take it home. Well, I go inside, order the food. A woman walks in. And we're standing at the counter, and I said to her, "Oh, this is a great place to eat, no MSG." And I said, "I put these people in my book," and they are in my book, the restaurant. Mm-hmm. And she goes, "You wrote a book? What was it about?" So I told her what it was about. She goes, "Oh my gosh, my daughter's bipolar." And I said, "I've been working on doctors to get it." She goes, "Oh my gosh, I got this holistic MD that will be interested in this." Mm-hmm. Now, is that a coincidence that I had the feeling to go to this Chinese restaurant at the same time she was there? And now I have another doctor that's interested in giving this treatment. Isn't it amazing that I followed my feelings?
Yeah. And that's what it's about, following those impulses.
That's right.
Because you don't know who's going to be down that road.
That's right.
Bicycling everywhere in Phoenix, as I used to, I would get the impulse to, it was pretty much a straight shot from home to work. I mean, there weren't a lot of variations. But sometimes I get the impulse to turn left and go down this road, and if I didn't do it, I'd end up having to turn around and go all the way around. If you've just joined us, I'm Richard Dugan. We're here with Linda Emmanuel, and she's the author of The Messenger. Stay with us here on Tell Me Your Story. And welcome back. I'm Richard Dugan. Thank you very much for joining us. We're talking with the author of The Messenger, Linda Emmanuel. There is hope for the future, and for her, there is a great deal of hope in her own life, because she has come through so many obstacles, challenges in her life, especially from a health perspective. I mean, you went through a lot of the various conditions that you were dealing with back in 2000, 2001, and so forth. I'm curious as to your childhood. Because you had mentioned about your spirituality, and you'd mentioned about your we'll call it your intuitiveness, and it's beyond just being having woman's intuition. Was this something that was a part of your life even as you were growing up?
No, I was just a little middle child brat, but both my brother and sister. I was a little bit stubborn. I was just your average kid. I didn't stand out from the rest. I believe you probably believe that we choose our parents. And people are probably saying, "Oh, she never went through anything." I grew up with terrible low self-esteem. Mm-hmm. My father, bless his heart, it just happened that he was a perfectionist and I never could do anything right. So that followed. I married somebody that was a gambler, a womanizer, and an abuser. So I was abused as a wife and a mother. And when I woke up spiritually, I took responsibility. That was the part about the spiritual growth. You take responsibility for the choices you make. Mm-hmm. And I stopped hating my ex-husband because I stayed with him. Nobody pointed a gun at my head. And I moved on. And for me, I forgave everybody that did me wrong, or thought, so I thought. Mm-hmm. But the hardest person to forgive was myself.
That's the next question I was going to ask you. If this process of letting go of all of this stuff was difficult for you, especially if you were bringing with you all of the self-esteem issues, the negative self-esteem issues from your childhood.
Right. I got over maybe I could give a little advice how to get over the low self-esteem, not making eye contact. What I did was this. I had very low self-esteem. I couldn't make eye contact. Mm-hmm. What I did, and maybe this might help somebody, I took my CD headset with my CD, my CD player. I would put it on and go to work in the morning from the bus, and I would pretend I was listening to something, and I would pass people, and I would make eye contact with them, and I'd say, good morning. And that way I didn't really have to converse with them, and it looked like I was busy, but I started making eye contact with people with the headset on. Then I would ride our metro train, and I would keep that headset on, and I'd ride the train, and I would kind of glance up at people and give them a friendly eye contact, not a stare, just a little bit of acknowledgement. And I started making eye contact that way. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
I had
You basically were making it safe for yourself.
Exactly.
To put yourself out there without having to deal with any responses, because they would think, oh, she's just responding, but she's got this music going on, and so she's not going to hear me. So it made it safe for you to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said it. I never thought of it exactly that, but what I was doing. It really helped me. And eventually I took the headset off, and I'm making eye contact with you right now. And I'm not intimidating you. I look at somebody's eyes. I don't intimidate them. I give them I don't give them a seductive look, but I look right into their eyes, because that's the windows of the soul. That's not my saying, but you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean,
and
yes.
when you start making eye contact, you start feeling good about yourself. And I feel really good about myself. I'm not perfect. I'm just like everybody else. I'm not some Mother Teresa or some Mary Magdalene or whatever. I'm just Linda. I'm just like you. It could happen to you. If you turn your life over to the universe, be careful. I have a little saying, be careful what you wish for. You want to hear it? Wishing is like fishing. What you catch depends on what bait you use and how you cast out your line. So be careful of what you hope to tackle, for you may find you need a larger boat. For you may be reeling in something far bigger than you ever hoped to net. For on the end of that hook may be your worst nightmare, Moby Dick. That's what I wished for, and I got it.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing that we have to all be consciously aware of, is what it is that we really and truly want. And staying focused on just that. The Messenger is the title of the book. My guest is the author, Linda Emmanuel, and there is hope for the future. And you can pick up this book at Amazon.com. You can go through LindaEmmanuel.com. You can also go through RichardDugan.com. That's RichardDugan.com. Love to hear from you. Send me an email, and that would be Richard@RichardDugan.com. That's Richard@RichardDugan.com. Love to hear from you. Go to our website. You can download this or any of the programs that we've had on previous broadcasts, and share them with family and friends. I have no problem with that. We at this particular point in time, we have no reason to be charging for you to have access to this information. The whole idea is new paradigms, making this information available to you. Thoughts are racing through my mind right now about transcripts, and I'm thinking, you know what? I just like it better when I can sit and listen to something. I don't want to sit there and have to hold it and read it and what have you. But there are times when it's just really nice. Part of what I've found so enjoyable about doing these kinds of programs, Linda, is the fact that for me, it is the best description I've come up with. It's like Christmas morning, and you go downstairs or where have you, and you rip open the package, rip open the present to see what's inside. Well, that's what these interviews are like. I want to know more about who has written these books. And yes, we certainly have, and we'll talk more about the book, but they can pick the book up and read it.
Sure.
They're not going to get the same kind of an opportunity to meet you in this fashion unless you go to their city to a book signing or a presentation or a seminar that you might put on. They just won't have that opportunity. And so that's what we try to provide here, both for you as well as for the listeners, is to get a little bit more in depth into who the person is that put together this information in whatever the format is, whether it's on CDs or in book form or whatever the format is. So that's part of what we're doing here on Tell Me Your Story. Before we run out of time, I wanted to touch upon because I asked you this question, and I wanted to have you elaborate a little bit more on it, and that is having to do with the future for Linda Emmanuel. As I said before, you've reached that place of wholeness, and Is there the possibility, even after going through this miraculous transformation in your health, that you could, have relapses, be reinfected? I don't know what the terminology would be there. Get sick again? Have lupus again? Have all of the other conditions all over again?
That's a possibility. The reason people are so sick today is that this organism is so highly contagious. If I would come in contact with an infected person that has mycoplasma infection, and got the germ back, I could get sick again if I didn't take care of myself, if I didn't eat properly, have a good attitude, had another trauma.
Right.
So it's a very good point to bring up. Yeah. If people should start thinking seriously about who they share body fluids with. I know that sounds kind of...
Well, but it's true. I mean, and I understand what you're saying, and I think our listeners do too. And I want to thank you very much for coming to Santa Barbara, though it wasn't exclusively to come visit with us, but I'm glad that you took the time to share with us. It's wonderful, and much success to you and the book, The Messenger. There is hope for the future. Linda, Emmanuel, again, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Richard.
I'm Richard Dugan. Thank you for joining us, and join us again next Saturday at the same time for Tell Me Your Story.
To understand you, oh, won't you walk with me, talk with me, tell me your stories. I'll do my very best to understand you. Your flesh and blood, flesh and blood, your flesh and